So Esther had helped her father, Mr. Ho, secure a very large loan from the Chicago bank, and now he was expanding into the store next to him. Probably he was going to have 3 times more space than ever. Esther and Day had been working very hard for several weeks while their dad took care of the expansion and oversaw all of it. And so this Saturday that I'm referring to, when they showed up and were ready to work, Mr. Ho surprised him and told him that they weren't needed. He had managed to keep everything stocked, and that possibly if a truck came in, he might need him tomorrow, and they should check with him around noon tomorrow. But that he wanted them to go and enjoy the evening because he knew Esther and Day, with their friends, were going to go to see the World Organization of Wrestlers event. It was the 600th event in the Chicago area for the WOW. And they were going to do that in the evening. So Esther and they were extremely excited, jumped up and down, hugged their father, gave him a kiss on the cheek, and took off. So Esther and Day had been given tickets, which were plentiful enough to include their friends. They were going to be seating in the front row of the wrestling match. They went home and prepared. Day suggested that Esther put on some black clothing and go as a gothic character because they were going to be watching it's the Black Gothic band before and after the wrestling match. And Black Gothic band is all Gothic members, and they had a big following, including Day and her friends, and they were good. Esther had heard them before, and so Esther agreed to it. And preparing for the evening, they went to Day's home. Esther tried on some of Day's clothes, and Day had a large selection of black wigs, so Esther was going to cover up her long blonde hair with a black wig and definitely look gothic for the evening. So Helen and Kris and Eve, they're good friends from school, they stopped in, and they were excited, and they wanted to help prepare Esther. Kris especially wanted to do her makeup because putting a gothic face on is something Esther wasn't accustomed to. And eventually, while they were there and preparing and looking over clothes, Raven and her sister, Riley Grace, the only 13-year-old in the group, showed up, and that was the 7 that would be going to the wrestling event. So they were all having a great time talking about clothes, and when Esther put on the wig, Riley Grace said, wow, I wish I could go Gothic too. Well, all the girls thought it was a great idea. Riley Grace had blonde hair too. And Raven, her sister, was Gothic. Riley Grace, at 13 years old, was not. So they decided to go do some shopping. And Esther and Raven and Riley Grace took off for the Wilson Burnett Mall. They found a lot of black clothing for Riley Grace, all of which Riley helped pick out. And then they also found some shoes which were really, really nice. All this was paid for by Esther's debit card that had been given to her by Mr. Polo, who owned and ran the Polos for women, where they were shopping. Mr. Polo had decided to expand the Gothic line. So anyway, they went back and to Esther's home, where they had agreed everybody would meet later. And Esther had a surprise for him. She told everybody that they were going to go in style to the wrestling match, because Mr. Wilson, the man who held the controlling interest of the WOW, was providing a limousine for all the girls. Esther had helped him purchase some of the controlling stock at a premium, and he was very thankful, and he felt like she had done him a favor. So once the girls were dressed and ready, Esther got a call. It was the limousine driver. He was out in front of the apartment. They all loaded up and were on the way to the wrestling match. It was going to start at 8 o'clock. It was a long process, so going in the back door where Mr. Wilson had approved their entry, and then they went up several levels to the stadium floor where the wrestling match was going to be. And it was very exciting, and thousands of people there. The stadium smelled like beer and hot dogs, popcorn, and Riley Grace spotted immediately cotton candy. Someone was selling cotton candy. So Raven, she called over the young man carrying the cotton candy, and they purchased 5 bundles of pink cotton candy. And oddly enough, it was on a black paper cone, which just worked out fine for the Gothic girls. So they were enjoying themselves, having cotton candy, and getting ready for the time of their lives to see the 600th event for the WOW, World Organization of Wrestlers. Mr. Wilson had promised Esther that it would be an event that would be very memorable.